the next person I want to talk about, right? Because we hear Jose Sanchez del Rio, an incredible story, and we think about it, and it's fantastic, right? But how many of y'all are sitting there and be like, well, that's nice, but one, that's really hard. I don't know if I could do that. And then also, we're probably not even going to get the opportunity to do that, right? Like, you think about our lives and we think about how blessed we are. The reality is a lot of us won't be in that situation. That's why I like this next saint, because he's a lot like us. So his name's Blessed Carlo Acutis. So again, he was 14 or 15. He was born in the 90s. He just passed away here in 2006, right? So he's born in England, but to an Italian family, really well-off, rich Italian family that didn't really have any faith background, right? So they raised him, he was baptized, they would go to mass every once in a while, but the family wasn't particularly devout. It was more of a cultural thing, right? How many of us feel that way, right? We kind of look back and we're like, yeah, our family's kind of Catholic, but not, anything too devout. But that didn't stop him. As Carlo was growing up, he realized more and more, hey, this all kind of makes sense. Hey, this idea that this God loves me, and that this God came and lived and died and rose for me, and more importantly for Carlo, that he made himself present in the Eucharist for us. That he didn't just go and live and die and leave us teachings, but he shows up every day in the Eucharist for us and feeds us and says, hey, come home to me. That's what inspired Carlo. And now Carlo didn't do anything like Jose Sanchez del Rio in the sense of going to battle or anything like that. But what he did do is every single day share that love of Christ with everyone around him. When they're going through the canonization process, everyone's like, okay, cool, well, what did Carlo do? And all of his classmates stood up and said, he was a great guy, right? He defended his friends against bullies. He was nice and he was kind to everyone he met. He prayed often, right? And it was listing out all incredible, awesome things, all good things, but nothing that you and I can't do. And that's really the beauty of the story, is his everyday life looked like that. Unfortunately, at the age of 15, Carlo was diagnosed with leukemia. And when he got the diagnosis, the first thing he said was, well, I'm going to offer up this treatment and offer up this suffering for our church and for the Pope, and that more people will come to know Christ through whatever happens. So unfortunately, Carlo started to digress more and more. But in his time that he started to realize how sick he actually was, he had a love for computer science, right? That was just his hobby. This is what he did. Again, he literally lived a life like you and I, but just started to realize the beauty of the cross and the beauty of Christ. And so what he did in his last few days was he put together a website of all of the Eucharist miracles around the world, right? So in all of those miracles, Carlo made a website, and it's still up today. Because that's what he did. He said, I want to do something that leaves behind a legacy. And so unfortunately, Carlo didn't beat his battle, leukemia. But what he did do is remind us all that sainthood isn't just for the martyrs. Sainthood isn't just for those people who are older, right? Those people who are priests or nuns. Sainthood's for us. Carlo was made by the same God that you and I were. Both Carlo and Jose Sanchez del Rio are saints, not just because of their death, but because of their life.